Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, church family. Of course, that depends on when you're getting opportunity to view this video. The church's vision team and vision advisory team wanted to get the information out to you that from our survey that we did last year. We know it's been a while, but we want to get this out to you and let you know where we're at and where we're headed. So let's go ahead and get started. So as you remember, prior to the pandemic, we had set out to have what we call the second phase of the refocus process. And the vision team and the vision advisory team put together a survey, which many of you completed, and turned those in to help guide our future decisions and actions. Even though some adjustments have been made to help us work through the COVID-19 through the pandemic, and many of our normal processes and procedures have been impacted, as you all well know. We are needing to pick back up the refocus strategy and start preparing for whatever our new normal is going to be. So first and foremost, let me say thank you for participating in the survey. We took a deep dive into who we are to look at what we are. So the holding that mirror up and identifying our best parts, and of course identifying those areas that need some updating and possibly maybe even total removal. So to kind of give you an overview of how the survey went and what all went on with the survey, the response for the survey was very impressive. We had 195 participants. The analysts that looked at this said that that was very impressive for a church of our size. So the report represents the opinions of the four response groups, or four major groups, I should say. It was Caucasian women, African American women, Caucasian men, and African American men. Now, there are some minor outliers in the ethnicity identification, but all the feedback was reviewed and calculated. So our collective demographics, of the 195 individuals who completed the survey, 95% of them were church members. And of that group, 29% had been members for 20 plus years, while 52% had been members for 5 to 19 years. So collectively, 81% of those who participated in the survey have been members at MRBC for 5 to 20 years. 66% of the participants were age 55 or older. 7% were between the ages of 18 to 34. And as we all know, this data reflects the need for attention and emphasis in this area. The gender breakdown of those who participated, 60% were women and 40% were men. On the racial breakdown of those who participated, 4 out of 5 members, or 80%, were Caucasian. Approximately 20% were composed of members who were African American, American Indian, or another race. So most of the members, 94%, either lived in Fayette County, 2/3, or Clayton County, approximately a quarter. 12 members lived in other counties, and 5 did not provide county data. The majority, 96%, had a travel time of 30 minutes or less. 76% of those participants' travel time between home and church was 15 minutes or less. About 20% had a travel time that took up to half an hour. Only one participant reported 45 minutes or more travel time. So in summarization of our demographics, taking all of the provided responses and the most frequently occurring responses, the average modal church member was a Caucasian woman aged 65 years or older who has been attending MRBC as a member for 20 years or more, lives in Fayette County, and has a travel time between home and church of 10 minutes or less. Continuing on with other questions that we asked, church involvement, 4 out of every 5 members, or 83%, attended Sunday school 2 to 4 times a month. That is awesome. That is great. The majority of our members, 89%, attended worship 2 to 4 times a month. So this data seems to indicate that these two activities were closely tied. So increasing church attendance seems to go hand in hand with increasing Sunday school attendance, or vice versa. Participation in church activities, approximately 50% of members reported participation in 1 or 2 church activities. 38% participated in 3 or 4 church activities. Now, the data did not identify the time frame of the participation. However, the reported numbers were encouraging and helpful in understanding members' willingness to be involved. So when we asked how their involvement had changed, 46% of the respondents indicated no change. Approximately 28% indicated their involvement had increased, and their primary reasons were stronger faith, more positive attitude towards the church, or more time. On the other hand, approximately 27% indicated that their involvement had decreased, and their primary reasons were health issues, a more negative attitude towards the church, and less time. So if you'll look, the comparison of these responses reflected 2 similar areas in both the positive and the negatives, the time and the attitude. While we all know that time is an influencer on all areas of life, the attitude, both positive and negative, will require additional follow-up for us to learn how to improve in both what we are doing well and in what requires attention and improvement. The respondents were asked how many individuals or family they had personally asked to visit or attend MRBC. 1 out of every 5 members had not extended invitation. That's 20% of us have not invited anyone to our church. 30% had extended invitations to 1 or 2 individuals or families, and 50% had extended invitations to 3 or more individuals or families. This is also going to require some more in-depth review and research, because we also discussed what are we inviting them to. If we're only inviting them to the major activities, for example, our Christmas program or our Easter program, then we might want to come up with a better way of addressing how we're going to be inviting and getting people introduced to our church. So, point of interest. In the survey, the respondents were asked how many of their closest friends attended MRBC. Half the members responded that they had 0 to 3 of their closest friends at church, while the other half claimed 4 or more of their closest friends attended McDonough Road Baptist Church. So when we got the survey back, we kind of dove through looking at the different areas, and we kind of wanted to walk through and look at some of the areas that was identified of what we do well. So utilizing the analyst feedback, and as indicated by the survey responses, we're going to walk through the list of the top 5 items reflecting church members agreed with or were satisfied with. So 90% of the respondents agreed or strongly agreed that the church members help each other in times of trouble. I think McDonough Road Baptist Church does that extremely well. 89% of the respondents were generally or very satisfied that the church supports the global mission of the church or of the denomination. 80% of the respondents were generally or very satisfied that the church provides Christian education for our adults. 79% of the respondents were generally or very satisfied that the worship service provides a meaningful experience of God. 78% of the respondents were generally or very satisfied that the church engages in charitable acts for the needy. So those are some positive areas that we need to keep entwined in our movement, in our strategic planning, and we can always improve, but we want to make sure that we keep those ingrained in what we're doing. Now, we also went through and we looked at the top 10 considerations that are going to require action. And so utilizing the analyst feedback, again indicated by the survey responses, there were 10 major areas for consideration for action. 30% of the respondents identified that the need for the church to place more emphasis on helping members use their time, money, and talents as expressions of Christian stewardship. 33% of the respondents identified the need for the church to place more emphasis on sharing the gospel. 36% of the respondents identified the need for the church to place more emphasis on participating with local religious groups. 40% of the respondents identified the need for the church to place more emphasis on helping members discover their personal gifts for ministry and service. If you'll notice, we have the Act Now button here. This was one of the top 4 that we identified that's probably, that is going to require more action sooner than later. 42% of the respondents identified the need for the church to place more emphasis on pastoral counseling. Again, this was one of the top 4 and is identified by the Act Now button. 39% of the respondents identified that they cannot identify any distinctions that are easy to summarize for visitors and non-members. This is an area that we were challenged by our trainer when we were going through the Refocus program to ask, what can members say about your church that makes you stand out or makes you unique or makes you identifiable to your community? So this is an area that we are going to have to address, but this probably will be addressed as we start addressing other areas. 44% of the respondents identified that the church does not encourage or support innovation. Again, this survey was prior to the pandemic. We have stepped up and have utilized excellent tools to try to get our service online, to try to reach out to individuals, but we know we have room to grow. We know we have room to improve. So that supporting innovation needs to be addressed, and we keep that in the forefront as well. 47% of the respondents identified that the church does not openly address conflicts and disagreements. 51% of the respondents identified that the current morale of the church is low. Again, you see the Act Now button. We feel this is one of the top 4 areas that needs to be addressed and put into an action item. 52% of the respondents identified that they had no sense of excitement about the church's future. Again, the Act Now button requiring action immediately or as soon as possible. We will be taking these top 4 and be building action plans and strategic planning towards how to address those. Hopefully, by addressing those 4, that will impact several of the other identified areas, but all of them collectively will be maintained and monitored and pursued. So in summarization, church family, we have a lot to absorb, a lot to reconcile, to position ourselves to move forward, ensure we are being the light that we need to be in our local community. We need to continue doing what we are doing well. And then, of course, we need to address the action items identified and formulate a plan to ensure MRBC continues to move forward and is constantly serving our community as we should be. In addition, as stated at the beginning of this presentation, we know all things will be different. We know that things are going to be different as we move out of the pandemic and need to be prepared to adjust accordingly. The surveys made it clear that we have a lot of work ahead of us, and we all need to recognize it isn't going to happen without total church involvement. The vision team, the vision advisory team encourages everyone to start praying now and ask God where He wants you to plug in. Where can you immediately start making an impact, and how can you best support the Refocus initiative? So, what's next? Well, one of the very first items that we need to tackle is to ensure we have a strong communication plan developed and implemented. Recently, the church upgraded our administrative software. It's where we maintain our records. And part of the new software's ability is to allow us to send communication through it. So in coordination with the deacons, Sunday school leadership, and staff, we will be embarking on an initiative to get as many of our records updated with current contact information, email addresses, phone numbers, your home addresses, etc., to allow us as many avenues possible to ensure we can communicate with the church body. So over the next couple of months, be expecting someone to reach out and verify your information or ask you to sign into the new system and verify and update your information. This first step is going to allow us to develop our communication plans and allow us a easier way to reach out to more people. So I encourage you to make sure that your information's up to date. Anybody in your Sunday school class, ask them if their information has been up to date, if they've been contacted. And hopefully over the next, like I say, probably 4 to 6, maybe 8 weeks, we can get as many of our records up to date. And then that's going to keep us in full communication or offer us methods on how to communicate to everyone. And Sunday school classes can communicate one with another. Small groups can communicate one with another. And the tool that is offered in this software, in this new platform, is a very strong and powerful tool. So we want to take advantage of that. Again, thank you, McDonough Road Baptist Church. Thank you for being who you are. Thank you for realizing that we need to back up, get ourselves reorganized, get ourselves refocused. And of course, the pandemic has thrown us into a whole different arena, but we're still here in this community to do God's work. And I pray that we are able to keep ourselves where He wants us. I pray that you allow yourselves to be used in the way that He wants you to be used. We will be communicating. We will be sending out more surveys, I'm sure. We will be wanting to hear the voice of the church to make sure that we are hearing what you want, that we are hearing what you need. But also I encourage everyone to listen to our community. Ask around, see what is going on around us, and how can we fill that need so that then we can fill their spiritual need. God bless you. Thank you for who you are. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to reach out to the church office and someone will follow up with you. Thank you.